So I'm a little nervous, but I'm more than excited to give you this presentation. Let me first share my screen. All right, just a quick check. Can everyone see my screen right here?
Yes.
Perfect. Then I'll just start. Well, Professor, I have given an excellent opening for my presentation, but I guess I will not go really deep into the like the code interpreter and what like it can really do a lot. I will give something, some practice example to you and let you know how can code interpreter help us with our daily life, or even just, how can code interpreter be your personal tutor? It is really powerful. And I have to say, I really enjoy playing with code interpreter because I was totally shocked by its capacity and ability. Well, I guess it's a good way to start right now. So here is a brief agenda of what we are going to talk today. We are going to have an overview of low code and no code trend, what's happening, and then we will give a brief introduction on GPT-4, the code interpreter itself. And in the next part, we are going to talk about how to use it. So here is the plenty of examples coming through. We are going to practice and how to use it. So first, what is really the low code or no code? I guess lots of you have heard this before, and most of you may heard this as the low code or no code platform. So there are a lot of developers. They are trying to build this sort of platforms for those non-professional programmers like me to create an application quickly. So for the low code, I researched this from the IBM website. To explain the low code is a visual approach to software development that enables faster delivery of applications through minimal hand coding. So in low code, you still need to code. It's unfortunately, you still need to know something about your code programming. However, for the no code, that allow you to create some applications through just drag and drop interfaces instead of traditional, hand coding programming. So in the no code, you can know nothing about coding, but create a program by yourself. Well, this is a traditional definition or explanation from, the program developers. However, so does this come to, our GPT version? Well, we'll develop this in the following topics. So first, let's think about why do we need low code or no code? We got a lot of programmers. They have their job. They can create millions of the applications for us. Well, here are some benefits. First of all, low code, no code, they are easy of use. So they are really easy and they make everyone become an application builder. And then it can speed up the development. Well, this is some of the features Professor Ann have mentioned in the Copilot or the Google Colab, their palettes. Well, it can help the developers to speed up their development procedures. And what is more, it can help to reduce costs. Imagine if one, the software engineer, they can do the before that two engineers need to do. So that can help either the company or, as customers, we can reduce the cost to pay for that application, or they can reduce the cost to build those applications. And what's more, it can help the developers to improving their productivity. It can suggest what can do with this function. Those copilots or those smart assistants, they can tell you how to work faster. So it can help you to improving your productivity. And in addition, I come up with this advice myself. It is really an innovation in cross-discipline subjects. For me, taking me as an example, I know little about, Python, or I know nothing about probably JavaScript, those languages. However, with the help of this low code, no code, I can create my website or an application with Java, JavaScript, with no experience in those languages. So that is the innovation we are talking about. So when I look through all this, this low code, no code, GPT or stuff, well, GitHub Copilot definitely come to my eyes because it is one of the most famous and most popular one in the market. So what is really the GitHub Copilot? I guess most of you have heard this, but probably not play with it. So it is, some of you may think, it is only built by GitHub and OpenAI. However, Microsoft actually works a lot and contribute a lot to this, this feature. And here is, I think, really key points of Copilot. What is trained for? It is trained, to draw context from the comments, those natural language instead of those professional programming language, natural language, and code to suggest individual lines or whole functions instantly. So it can give you some suggestion on what to write, or it can even just write you what you want. We will show you later. And what is trained on? This is also important. So Copilot is trained on natural language text and source code from publicly available sources, such as those public repositories on GitHub. Well, this tell you, so GitHub Copilot, it is not a general or multimodal GPT. It is actually a specified trained GPT for coding, for programming. So it has a better ability in the programming. So, and next is that there is something recently popular called Copilot Chat. But however, it is still in the beta version. So it is not really open to the public, and you have to apply for this trying. But Copilot Chat is take the Copilot even further from only giving suggestions from those comments and some exist chunk of codes. It can just use natural language. You just describe what you want in the chat channel, and it can just give you what you want. So it is really a magic. However, unfortunately, it is not available to us yet. So today we will just take a look with what is a Copilot. And where it is available, well, you can find the Copilot and use it in Visual Studio Code, in Visual Studio, and those popular IDEs. And it is powered by the GitHub, so you have to purchase it through the GitHub official website. But good news is it is free for students and teachers and maintainers of popular open source projects. So as students and teachers, we can just go to the GitHub account and verify your academic affiliation, and then you can get a free access to the GitHub Copilot. Well, I guess I have talked a lot, but it is always good to see how does it work. So let's take some practice on it, and let me show you how it performs. Just to double check, can everyone see my screen switched into split version?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, let me quickly switch to a Jupyter notebook. Well, Copilot is not only work with Python, however, it also works with a lot of other languages. But it's good to mention that there are some of the language Copilot is especially good with. I guess you know the reason, because the Copilot is trained based on those open source codes, and well, Python is one of the most popular one. So I guess it gets trained a lot on Python. So it do performs better on Python, like C language, Java, JavaScript, this popular one. And for today's demonstration, I'm using the Visual Studio Code IDE, and I'm using the Python, the TensorFlow version for this demonstration. So let's just get started. So how to use it? Well, it is only 2 lines of instructions. Simple, make a comment and then click tab to accept their suggestions. So let's first start with an easy example. So let's say if we want to write a function to generate a random number. So this is already, let me tell you the truth. So all of these codes, none of them are write by myself. I write nothing. All of these are write by Copilot, or they are suggested by Copilot. So let's delete all of this and let's tap in. So write a function, generate a random number. All right. It suggests I generate one from 1 to 100. I'll accept it, or either you can just delete it, whatever you want, and then you just tap enter and it will tell you. So let's see what it will tell. Well, this is not expected. Normally it will give you a oh, here we go. Here it start. And it's just we start with a definition, a function definition. All right. We'll just click and enter and see. Okay, it looks like it used some sort of library. Okay, let's continue. Well, for this one, this is something I have met but did not expect to met in the presentation. So as you can see, Copilot is not really as smart as we thought. So sometimes its result will depend on your prompts. So I guess that is the importance of the prompts. Let's try to reverse to the most beginning with prompts. All right, here we go. We got this prompt, then we can just leave the original one and see what happened. All right, it's just, we can just generate a random number and print it out. All right, we'll just continue. Well, if first import a library, well, this is also suggested by itself. So we just tap the tab button, TAB button, and we accept it. And then we just continue. Well, it do the same. It suggests we write a function and I accept it. Well, I pay attention, I write nothing here. All of these are generated by the Copilot. And then a print. And well, this is really simple function. And when I saw the past Copilot demonstration, well, it means it end. This function is end, and they have done their job. So we can try to run this function and see what happens. Here we go. This is the function that suggests or fully generate by Copilot. So I guess this gives you a sense, how does the Copilot work and how can you play with it? Well, I guess before we jump to the example 2, it's good to mention how to open or how to install this Copilot in your Visual Studio Code or similar IDLE. So taking Visual Studio Code as example, we have something called the extensions. And in the extensions part, we can see, we can simply search, the GitHub Copilot, and then it pops up, and we install it into our, we click install in our IDE, and then it will automatically work in your when you tap the code. So any questions yet? Cool. I guess I'll just continue.
This is fantastic, Peiqi. I truly appreciate that. So your demonstration is very clear, and you really take the time to allow us to especially those who are not familiar with the IDE nor the Visual Studio, to understand it fully. So it's fantastic. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Visual Studio, Visual Studio is not a cloud-based API. So you have to download it into your personal machine and run your code in your personal machine. So this is actually a drawback of using Visual Studio, because when you run large models, usually your personal computer doesn't have the GPU support. And there are other versions of Copilot that could be run on the cloud, but is more restrictive to Azure and other on-cloud services. So that really leads to the reason why if you want to use similar functions like Copilot, you should probably use Google Colab, because now it has similar functions as Peiqi demonstrated in Copilot. Yeah, great. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Professor. Well, I guess it's also good to mention, so between Visual Studio, we have saw there are two Visual Studio. Well, it's complicated. One is called Visual Studio, another is called Visual Studio Code. So the Visual Studio is actually a paid and really expensive version, and it is more complicated and more multifunction IDE. It's for those professional developers. Well, Visual Studio Code, it is more simplified, but easier to use, and more important, it is free for community. So you can just search Visual Studio Code community version, and you can see more detailed instructions. But good thing about this one is it is free for us. Well, I guess I will just continue to the next example, and we will take more look with how does Copilot work. Well, so for this one, is, as I said, it is also generated by the Copilot, and I'll just simply delete his or her work, and let's see what is his or her suggestions. So here we will prompt writing a function to plot a square. I just randomly come up with this idea. So, all right, I guess, we also need to plot a lot of things when we either doing the research or, we just trying to plot out some of the data sets result, right? So here we just try an easier one. We plot a square. First, it suggests us to import this library and import the NumPy the library, and then it help us define a function. Here we go. It, as a side, it can write the whole function for us, and then we just follow it float, and here is the end of this function and this chunk. We can start let it write. Well, here we can see it not only do the square plot, but also create something we don't want. Well, as I said, that is the unsmart part of Copilot. So it's not really, you can fully rely on this. You still have to think, where is this coming from? Well, for this one, we can see it creates something like, y equal to x times 2 that create a line for it to plot. If we really want to plot a square, we have to modify this this function. So keep this in mind. The Copilot, it is not a fully functioned programmer. They will not write code for you. Instead, they only give suggestions. So that is why I keep saying, it's just these functions, it's just these codes. So it is important to keep this in mind, I guess.
So I also want to add that in the previous example that Peiqi showed, now is the prompt. Remember that we talk about prompt engineering a lot, right? So in this case, you want your prompt to be as specific as possible. because when you write a square, it may be confused by Copilot if you want to write a function about square of something, right? Because it can be interpreted differently. So if I were to write this prompt, you want to make sure that how you define the square. What is the maybe the square is defined by the length and height, right? Or the width and height, or you can be specific about the coordinates, right? From 0 to 4, 0, 4, 4, 4, and then basically you define the 4 coordinates, and then it's going to draw a square for you. Likely, because we don't know exactly how Copilot responds, but you have a higher possibility of getting something that you want.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Professor. Well, I also met a lot of problem with that in the GPT, in GPT-4. So I found out some way to make my prompts more specified, and I guess we will have some example later to talk about that. And for now, we'll just continue for that, continue our example. Well, for this one, just as Professor said, I asked the Copilot, so I want to write a function to read a CSV file instead of I want to read the CSV file only. So the Copilot gave me a function instead of simply use use PD to read the CSV instead. So it write me a function. So that is a great example for Professor and comments. We have to be really careful about your prompts to be specific as much as possible to let this Copilot or those AI understand what you are talking about and what you want. So this is I will not run all of this part again. And what you will do is similar to the previous one. So you simply make a comment and writing, just like writing a function to read a CSV file, or you can just say, help read the CSV file. And it will help you to write all these functions. So for this one, we have some great example, and I found a data site from the Kaggle website to illustrate some of the functions. Well, so after they read this file, I simply use this function to read the files and print the data out. So it will look like, oh, I guess I have changed the name of it, but it's okay. We'll continue. Well, for here, I think the problem is coming from the file directory. So for your instance, it's not a problem with Copilot or the programming. It's because I changed the directory, and I will change this directory later to show you its full capacity. So, well, after we read the CSV file into a pandas data, into this program, we want to translate it into some sort of data frame for our next step analysis, or either do some just explore the data. So we can try to explore this data, use the pandas read, and I write some code, read the data from CSV file, and put it into a data frame. Well, and then it will display the data frame to me. So I write all this file. Well, apparently you can see right here, there are not all libraries are needed. For instance, so for this one, simply we only need the pandas as our library. So the rest of it are not needs. So again, Copilot is simply a suggestion, and it is not as smart as what we thought, although it's really powerful, but we still need to make sure we check all the code ourselves and leave what we need instead of only what they need. So besides that, I also try to ask, can the Copilot create a linear regression model for us? So it is really interesting. They do know how to create those models, and even they can try to choose what models is good for you. So for here, we can see it involves a library called sklearn. I guess lots of you have used that models a lot. Well, and all of these following procedures are suggested by this Copilot, including those, the task splitting and this model, this linear regression model, all these predictions. And also this evaluation of the model is also suggested by this Copilot. So from my point of view, so Copilot, through learning all of these, the source code of machine learning, they do know some of the procedures or some, the general procedures of machine learning or how to create a regression model in the scientific research. Well, for this one, it is the one that a Copilot generate itself. But if you look back through this code, you will find an interesting mistake made by Copilot. So the Copilot did not realize there is the null values in our data sets. So, in the real life, in our data sets, there are a lot of null values that we need to either fill in with the means of that columns or just drop those values. So Copilot did not realize this at first. So I have to manually ask them to read the file and fill in the missing values. So this, I want to mention in first, this is the difference from the Copilot and the GPT-4 code interpreter. Just give you a glimpse. Well, GPT-4 interpreter is smarter than Copilot in this part, from my opinion. So after I ask Copilot to fill in the missing values, well, it just randomly choose to fill in with the mean values, and then it follows the same procedure in the rest of the code. And this one will give us a regression model to predict the result. I have to say the model is not really accurate, but it do show us a capacity of Copilot and how can Copilot help in our academic research or in just our interest research. So here is some example of the Copilot. Please feel free to drop any questions anytime during the presentation. All right. I guess I will continue to the next part.
Yeah, just a brief comment. So what you've shown really wonderful. So when you write with Copilot, we do need some substantive knowledge regarding, for example, linear programming or other type of programming. So when we write the code, in reality, not for demonstration purposes, what we want to is we have to formalize the steps. The first step would be, check the data for quality issues, and the second would be standardize the data, and then split the data. So we need to give more guidance to the Copilot. Otherwise, we will run the risk of too much automation, so that the machine may not fully capture the nuances of the data set and just try to follow the general steps, which may not be customized to our own data. So Peiqi illustrates this really important issue, that when we work with Copilot, we usually need to follow some kind of delineated guidelines instead of just allowing Copilot to go wild and write the entire number of steps, the data analysis for us.
Thank you so much, Professor. That is really good point. Copilot, that is what I found one difference. Well, I don't want to really talk about now, because I think it is better for you to find out yourself what is the difference after we show both Copilot and the GPT-4 code interpreter, and I'm sure you will definitely find some significant difference between them. And from my point of view, you will love code interpreter much more than Copilot. Well, so the next question is about the difference between them. But as I said, please kindly save these questions for a while and let's explore more about the GPT-4. That is our today's main topic. So what is really the GPT-4 interpreter? So we have known that ChatGPT is created by the AI, and they just create this multi models. So they are not only for those programming, they're also good for just natural language conversations. They are good either with the image processing. So this is also a big difference in GPT-4. It is smarter, it is more creative and generative, and it is more safer and factual accurate. On the right side, I have shown a picture about exam performance in GPT 3.5 and GPT-4, and you can see it is a significant improvement in GPT-4. What is more important, GPT-4 accepts longer prompts over 25,000 words. So that is really good news. I remember if I want to, what I always do is I translate a really complicated English novel or something, and it told me, it exceed the word limits. So I have to make it into parts to translate that. But for the GPT-4, we have a larger word limits. And what is more, in the GPT-4, the ChatGPT, they introduce those plugins. So code interpreter is actually a plugin of GPT-4, and unfortunately, it is only available to ChatGPT Plus users. So you have to pay to them to use this feature. So what exactly is code interpreter? We have talked a lot, and we have saw this Copilot and how does it work. So code interpreter is actually a Python interpreter. So it is more focused on Python, and it will generate your answers in Python language and use Python to solve your prompts. This is really important. And also it is a sandboxed execution environment. So instead of you have it only generate the code, it can also run the code for you. This is really important. As professor have mentioned, so for our the Visual Studio Code, if you do not install those Python environment in your local computer, you cannot run it. Visual Studio Code is only a the text editor. Just premium text editor looks fancy, but for the GPT-4, you can actually let the GPT-4 code interpreter run those Python for you, and you will see that in a minute. It will automatically run those code and return the result. And what is more important for the code interpreter is that you will have the choice to upload your file and also download those files. So you got some disk space in the code interpreter in those conversations. So if I remember correctly, these features are supported by the Microsoft Azure those servers. So you do have a small temporary disk space that will expire after this conversation time. Definitely it is not eternal, but you do have some small disk space, and that will allow you to upload many forms of documents or files. Well, since the core the core language of this code interpreter is Python, so actually almost everything accepted by Python that Python can read is accepted by code interpreter. Based on my based on my comprehension. So you can upload those TXT documents, doc, PDF, image, data size, video, even audio to it. And what's interesting is, well, although it is not really smart, but GPT-4 can indeed generate some of the audio music for you. That is really interesting. So what is more, I think, smarter than the Copilot? Well, I hate to mention GPT-4 is smarter, but from my point of view, it can do something more. GPT-4, the code interpreter, they know how to figure out the problems if they met some. And I hope we can met these problems. So in a short words, when it runs the program and it met some of the error code, for instance, the library is not installed, it can go back and install the library itself. So it do have the ability to solve the problem by itself. So this is just a brief introduction about code interpreter, and I hope you now know what the code interpreter is and some basic functionalities of code interpreter. Well, in the next part, we will see some scenarios for the code interpreter. But before that, let's first listen to a short music. I'm not sure, can anyone hear this one? Nope. Oh.
No.
Yeah, we can't hear.
Well, let me see how can oh, here we go. I can let's see if I can I have shared the let me please, I'm sorry for this mistake, but allow me try again. Well, it sounds like really simple and really electronic. Well, and I guess most of you can guess it is created by code interpreter. And if you have noticed, there is also a color change in our in this image. In previous one, it is purple, and this just tiny cute image. But for this one, it changed to in different color. Well, I will not spend time in Photoshop to change it. So I ask code interpreter to change this color for me as well. Well, this is just give you a glimpse of what can code interpreter do besides those academic and those really research work. It can also do some of those lifestyle things you need. And well, in short words, I found code interpreter, it can perform a lot of complicated tasks and also basic tasks. It can create some of the generative works based on your prompts and the resources you provide to them. It can process the audio, the image, video, and also more important, since you can upload the files to them. You can do data analytics with the help of code interpreter. It can also do some of the machine learning stuff in the code interpreter. And more important, what I found is really important is that code interpreter can also be a personal tutor for you in your academic journey. So the best way to show all of these scenarios is always examples. So let's start. First, where is the code interpreter? Please allow me to switch to the split screen again, and let's switch to the GPT this time. Just want to make sure, can everyone see this screen? Perfect. All right. So I have already logged into this ChatGPT website, and here we can see a lot of well, functions and it changed from the last time I saw it. Well, so as we said, the code interpreter is actually a plugin for the ChatGPT, and it is only available in the GPT-4. But before all of that, please make sure go to your account settings and click it and go to settings and beta. Make sure you open these beta features. If you don't open this, you will not see those plugins and code interpreter in your GPT-4 tab. So this is the first step. You want to make sure these these buttons are open, and then you can go to GPT-4. And when your mouse stop on the GPT-4 tab, you can see this code interpreter pop up, and you can just click it. And now we are in the GPT-4 page, and that's the how we started, and it's pretty easy. Well, let's start with the first prompts. A simple math problems, ask it to solve. It's good to mention this example or these prompts is modified from the code interpreter official example. So they use this one to show you some basic function of GPT-4 code interpreter. So let's copy and paste this into our channel and send it to interpreter. And here we can see the GPT first decompose the question. And this is what I really love about code interpreter. So it is not only interpret those problems, but also it helps you to decompose the question and provide you a step-by-step, the solutions to it. Well, here we can see it finished the work. And when we here, I think it's good to mention this one, when we saw a small, this rectangular tab, it is where we can see all those programming code in. And when we tap, you can see there are two chunks. The first one is the Python code, and the second one is the result. Well, as we said, it is, it has an execution environment so in it, so it will run the code for you on the website. Nothing else is needed, just like the code lab the professor has mentioned earlier, that simply we can just ask them to generate the code and let them to run it. Well, here we can saw the code interpreter have gave us the answers to this question. And this is where we start with the code interpreter. It's really simple, but well, I guess for Lowen, when you have some problems, about math problems, you can just ask GPT-4 or the code interpreter. And I think it's best to mention, in the prompts, if you want really detailed solutions, please make sure you ask them to such as provide me a step-by-step solutions, so that it makes the prompts more clear and it easier for the GPT to understand what you want. All right, we'll go to the next one. So for this one, I asked a similar question we do in the Copilot. I ask GPT-4 to write me a function instead of some code, but a function to calculate the RMSE of a data set. And we can see what happened when we ask ChatGPT to do that. So as we notice here, GPT-4 or code interpreter, it will always give you some brief introduction about the concept or the question you are talking about, just like a quick facts, and it will then write you the functions. So you have you have noticed this one, it generates this time is a little bit different with the one in this picture. So for here, the GPT, the code interpreter, have also provide a test examples for us. Well, it is not a big deal, but again, it is something about prompts. So how do we formulate our prompts is really important. I guess if we write, please write me a function to calculate the RMSE, and also we specify we want a test example, ChatGPT code interpreter will do for us. I guess it's worth to give a try if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add that, as Peiqi said, usually, if you are not familiar with the concept and you ask ChatGPT, the code interpreter, to write a code for you, the best practice is always to ask examples. Provide some either real-world examples or simulated examples to help you understand how something is calculated. It also gives you some confidence that the calculation is expected. And another information is, for those of you who are not familiar with the idea of RMSE, it stands for root mean square error, which is probably one of the most popular metrics to evaluate the performance of regressions with a continuous outcome.
Thank you so much, Professor. I will, so as the professor explained all these things, I have tried to formulate a more detailed prompts. And here I would like to mention one of the either, just small techniques I'd like to use to make the prompts more clear and detailed is I will list my requirements out for the interpreter or GPT. I will say, first, please write me a function. And second, I want blah, blah, blah. And then you can say third, fourth. So in this formulation, I found it is easier for the interpreter or the GPT to understand what you're meaning. And let's send these prompts to GPT. And well, you can see actually the interpreter will follow our prompts and follow our structure to solve this problem step by step. And here we got a similar the similar codes that it provide. And it do provide us first RMSE functions and the test examples. And what is more important, what I found is code interpreter, it is really, it is the one who those software development engineer would love to see, those good colleagues, because it write comments for every line of code to explain what does this line code is doing. So this is what also what I'm trying to say. Code interpreter is a good personal tutor. If you are not familiar with coding, or you are a learner of coding, you can learn to code with the code interpreter, because they will explain how to code detailed and explicitly in this chunk of codes.
Yeah, there's one more comment I want to make, that code interpreter is smart enough to give you some guidance on how you write consistent codes that are bulletproof. Usually, if you use Copilot, it's going to just write a function for you. But here, as you notice, that in the function that the code interpreter wrote, we have a line of check if observed and the predicted value have the same length, and then it's going to raise an error if if both input doesn't meet the condition. So this is really good programming, because otherwise your function is going to raise an error and stop. by having this this tracking function, the function is more robust to errors. So this is probably another advantage of using the smarter version of Copilot.
Thank you so much, Professor. Well, this is just the start of Code Interpreter. We are not explore the full capacity of Interpreter yet. So let's continue to the next one. Well, I'm not sure how many of you have met with the natural language processing before, but since we can upload some files, I decided to download the official technical documents of GPT-4 from their website, and we can use this one to illustrate the GPT-4 capacity of Word, the document processing. And first, let's just do a simple thing. Let's count the words in the documents. So before that, we want to upload a file into the documents. Well, it is also simple. You can either tap this upload file button and choose the file you want to upload, or you can also simply drag and drop your file into here. And then let's just simply type in these prompts. Well, again, the Code Interpreter will explain its solution and how will they solve this problem to you. Well, as we can see, it will extract the text and tokenize those paragraphs, and then it return our the whole value of these documents. So there are approximately 10,545 words in this PDF. And here is the code it uses. And another thing I want to mention is that I'm not sure have you worked with this, but there are some of other this natural language processing library in Python, such as NLTK. It is also a popular one. And well, the one that Code Interpreter use every time probably different. So if we ask Code Interpreter to do the word count this time, it used the PyPDF2. However, probably next time it will use another library because it knows much more libraries than we do. So it have a lot of options and choice for him or her to choose from his memory or her memory. They know a lot. So not every time they will produce the same, they will use the same library. So I guess that is also worth to mention because if you ask the same prompts two times and the procedures or the code it generates is different, no need to panic. It's simply because it knows a lot of different solutions to achieve the same results. Well, we have find out how many total words in these documents. So next we can try to find out the most mentioned words and try to create a data frame for the natural language processing. So we can try to we can copy and paste this into the prompt. And one more important thing to mention is that since we do have a small disk space in this conversation or in those the other server, so we do not need to re-upload these files again. So it can directly read the file we have already uploaded, and you just prompt really like the natural language and ask a real person. You just ask them to just do the same thing for the same documents. What is more important, if the Code Interpreter is confused about which documents to proceed or process. It will ask you which documents to do if you have multiple files uploaded. So there's no worries about to upload the same files multiple times. So, as we can see, if we numbered out our prompts, it will try to follow our numbered procedures and try to follow our logics. But it will always try to explain some quick facts about this about your prompts and try to decompose the languages. So in this one, it have finished all the work. However, if we go back to our prompts and check, we actually have not asked the code interpreter to print out the results for us. So it simply do all of those things, and well, it already have the data frame for us to use. However, it have not, since we do not ask him to print this out, it will not print out for us. That is another good example of be careful about the prompts you want and be as specific as you can. Oh, it's the same slides. So in the natural language processing, we also do some tongue analysis a lot. So is this these words or paragraph are natural? Are they positive or they are negative in tongue? So we well, the code interpreter can also help us to do that, and we simply ask them to analyze the tongue of this PDF, and then it can return us a result. Well, the code interpreter do this. Let me quickly show you what is really this PDF looks like. Oh, it looks like I upload a different one. So this PDF is about the room temperature ambient pressure superconductor that is really popular these days. And ideally, this should be a neutral tongue because it is a scientific research report, right? So let's see what is telling us right here. So it looks, it told us the score is slightly positive. Well, it suggests that the documents has somewhat neutral to mildly positive tone. That makes sense, probably in the academic, in the writing, they will try to, they are still persons, so everyone has their style of writing. So, well, this is another example of what can code interpreter do about the natural language processing. Well, in the next part, we'll do an interesting thing that generate a word cloud about this PDF. So this one is this picture. The word cloud is generated based on their the GPT-4 official technical documents. But for this one, we will generate a new word cloud for our document, and we can take a look. So, well, the GPT, the code interpreter is doing their thing right there. Let's take a look with the prompt exactly. So first, I asked the GPT, the code interpreter, to create a word cloud. And then I specify, please have a downloadable image file for me. So it will then generate a link right here for us to download the file, and we can then try to just create a file, an image file. Here is the downloadable file, and we can see the difference. And well, you can see there is this one, the one we just generated is not as good as the one I generated a couple hours ago, because as I said, the library they use is different, and that will come up with different result. We can also specify it, and we ask the code interpreter, please use NLTK as a library to help me generate the result. And well, it is always good to try to ask the code interpreter to regenerate these things, use another method. You can say, I am not satisfied. I'm not satisfied with this one. Please generate another one with another approach, and then it probably will change the library it used to generate. Well, let's see what can it give us with a different method. And it is always good to see how it come up with the mind and how the code flows. Well, you can simply just click the button and it will show you. Also, please feel free to drop any questions during the presentation. Oh, perfect. Here we got a arrow. Finally, we got a arrow code, and this comes to a great example for what I'm talking about. The code code interpreter know how to solve the problem. Here, it will first apologize for the oversight, and this one, I assure you, this word is same every time. So when you saw I apologize for the oversight, it means the code interpreter have made some error. Well, what is more, it will explain what happened. So it said, I attempted to use a mask for the word cloud, but I don't have a mask image readily available in this environment. So it will explain what happened in the error code, and then it will propose possible solutions and run that solutions for you. It's that instead, I will proceed without a mask, but still incorporate the other enhancement, and then it provide us this image. And if we compare with the previous one, I do find some more make sense, more words that make sense, but well, the result is not as good as this one. But that is not only depends on the library it used, but also depends on the PDF file, the original file, its format, etc., etc. But definitely, you are welcome to try some other library and other way to generate. And you can also ask code interpreter, please generate me the word cloud using 3 different methods. And I guess you will have some better result ultimately.
This is fantastic. So we do see the capacity of self-correcting mistakes by this the interpreter based on GPT-4 model, which is a big improvement. So many of us have been who are using the Copilot or other versions of autonomous AI to code, are often frustrated by the code that doesn't run because of various mistakes or errors. Some of the errors are very tiny, it's very hard to detect. But then we have this code interpreter, which can partially offset or self-correct the errors. So this is a major, I would say, a major step forward. But again, if you were to do something that you are not familiar with, you should definitely check maybe a textbook or some tutorials to understand more of the methodology. Because here, the reason, I guess, why besides the NLTK library, we should be using instead, another key mistake actually made by the interpreter is that it shouldn't actually use any stop words. It should get rid of all the stop words. Basically, stop words are the words that are fillers, that are not important. For example, the I, you, to, those words are frequently used in the sentences, but they don't carry substantive meaning. So they should basically get rid of all the stop words and then just probably get the root of those words, because, for example, illustration and illustrate actually they mean the same thing. So they should do those data cleaning first before they move into the mapping procedure. So therefore, some kind of substantive knowledge is needed if you really want to get the state-of-the-art results. But a quick and dirty job, the Copilot, the interpreter can do that for you very quickly. So it definitely speed up the starting efficiency. But on the other hand, we seldomly should just take that for granted. We want to dig a bit more into the methodologies used.
Thank you so much, Professor. I guess we gradually can see the difference between the Copilot and code interpreter. And what is more important, we have saw this difference that the code interpreter know how to correct those errors itself. And somehow I feel this is a sort of learning ability for the machine. They know how to learn how to correct a mistake, and they also can learn from this, and probably they will perform better in the next time. Well, I was freaked out by this feature the first time I saw it. Automatically solve this mistake, and I was totally shocked. Well, we have finished natural language processing, but you can still play a lot of more features about natural language processing. Well, I know lots of you are focusing the public health field and are trying to merge the ability of artificial intelligence and public health to help with those our health problems. So I find a thyroid disease dataset from Kaggle to illustrate the following features, the data analytics features of code interpreter. So first of all, thyroid is a small butterfly-shaped organ, a gland located in the neck, in our neck, and it produces hormones essential for regulating our metabolism, growth, and other bodily functions. In short words, if you don't have this thyroid, you will feel really bad, and you will be afraid of cold, and you will be really sensitive to those temperature difference. Well, in this data set, they provide the patient demographics and blood test result along with thyroid disease diagnosis. So this is the background of the data set we will play with in the following part of this presentation. So first, well, the thing we first want to do is we want to understand the data set. What is this data set talking about? This is always the first thing we want to do when we have a data set. So before that, let me give us little suggestions I have. Every time you start with a new and really complicated, conversation with code interpreter or GPT-4, I will try to just close the old one and make sure I open a new one to give the GPT-4 a clean, the memory or that disk space, and enough memory for it to proceed how my request. So now let's upload our file, the thyroid CSV. Oh, by the way, I will send all these files, including my presentation slides, to you or a professor, and in later this presentation, and so that you can all access to this all of these files. So first, let us upload this file, and we can ask code interpreter to provide us some detailed summary of this data set. And please be advised, first time I just asked the code interpreter to provide me a summary of this data set, and what it provides is different with a detailed summary of this data set. So let's take a look of what it will provide. So as we can see, it will first show you a brief introduction of the columns in this data set. So what is this data set contains? Well, in this one, we have age, sex, the pregnant status, that the patient have take the thyroid surgery, or they have not. Have they take the iodine, those radioactive treatment yet, and a lot of others. And then it will show us and decompose into the numerical and categorical things. And here is the difference between detailed summary and only a summary. In the summary, it will not provide all these statistical things to us. So it will simply tell you, there are some numerical columns, there are some categorical columns, and that's it. And for the missing values, it will also simply tell you, oh, we have these columns that have missing values, but it will not tell you the detailed numbers of this. So overall, it has provided us a quick summary of what is this data set talking about. So let's go back to the start and let me try to explain you, and let's see, can you quickly understand or just get a basic knowledge about this data set? As we said first, this data set is about the thyroid patients and their various attributes. Please be advised, and please remember, this one is not told by me, and it's not either written or wrote in the CSV file. This is totally or fully generated by code interpreter. So this one is their own understand of this data set, and it's pretty accurate, I have to say. And then it's some of the columns in this data set, such as age, sex, we have mentioned the sick, pregnant, thyroid surgery, and etc. What is more important, code interpreter, I guess, cooperate with the ability of GPT. It explain what does each column means, and more important, it can show you the gender of patients, such as F probably means female. So this is actually a guess made by GPT, the code interpreter. And then you can see it is always good to know what each columns are doing. And again, this is not wrote in the CSV file. It is fully generated by the code interpreter itself. Take an example. I'm not sure how many of you know what is this I-131 treatment is, but after you saw this, you can know, okay, first, this is some sort of the treatment, and this this column will told you whether the patient have undergone the I-131 treatment yet, and that is all you need to know for now for this column. So from this point, the code interpreter have be a really good, a storyteller, and tell you what is this data set about. And then here we have some details explaining, how many valuable values, and what is more, it tell you, are there any missing values in these columns or data sites? And in the end of this detailed, it has some summary or observations, its own observations for you, such as the TBG column has the significant number of missing values, and also this data set have a mix of categorical and numerical columns. So this is first step, we want to do some, data analysis or research in this data set. So next, we want to prepare our data set to be, ready for the next step. So we want to take a detailed look at all the columns, what we have. If we want to create a the regression model or even some neural network model, what are some columns or what are some values we want to choose to for that model?
So Peiqi, before you ran into that, I just want to briefly comment two things. One, so what ChatGPT can provide us now, the code interpreter, is a lot more than the pandas, right? So in the pandas framework, we have to ask explicitly, using describe, info, summary, and other functions. But here you get them all in one go. And second, I guess the best practice is not to allow ChatGPT to guess too much. So in this case, you will provide your data as well as the code book, because every standard data set has a code book providing you the interpretations, the definitions for those variables. So I guess ChatGPT should be smart enough to figure out the relationship between the code book and the data, so it can provide basically in context interpretation, which really minimize the risk of misinterpretation by ChatGPT just by guessing. But in general, I agree that this is fantastic, really very powerful tool. With natural language, we now can get a comprehensive summary without knowing much about coding.
Thank you so much, Professor. And yeah, about the code book, I totally agree. And for this data set, if you go to the Kaggle website, you will also see the code book provided by the uploader in the file. So I will definitely give a try after I finish this presentation to see if it's a result improved after I upload the code book to it and compared to the current one. But for now, let's take a look about how it will, how we can do to do some, some prediction with the code interpreter. So first, let's take a closer look about the columns. So as you may notice, here we only have some 11, and there are, various and much more columns to in this data set. So we can ask the code interpreter to show all of them to us. So here it will the code interpreter will read through all the the columns. And if you have noticed, actually here the code interpreter have not read any code in this chunk. It simply read through through its memory in the previous chunk to basically it retrieve those information from the previous chunk from its temporary memory. And here it almost finished a work. So it will show us how many all those columns and possibly some of the explanations about it. And in addition to what Professor I have said, what I found really helpful for me is that, well, if, for instance, I'm not really familiar with thyroid, this study field, I don't know what does those, the TT4 or these things means. I find, it can tell you, oh, the T4U is something called the thyroxine uptake. And it is some sort of the blood level, and the T4U right here is the estimate of the amount of thyroxine binding proteins in the blood. So it will give you some suggestion of possible meaning of those tokens. But again, it is always safer to provide a code book to the code interpreter to help it better understand these things. And my guess about all these, these explanations on the columns is all these things are from the GPT model. So it is based on its training. So probably not up to date. So that's also another thing I guess we want to keep in mind. Some of the information is not really the newest and most advanced. So here we have found out all these things, and we have learned some of the meanings of this, this metrics. And I want to especially mention some of the key metrics in the thyroid disease. So there's one metric called TSH. So TSH is one of the key hormones that active in our thyroid and in our blood. And this is directly related with our thyroid function. So TSH is actually one of the key measurement to for the doctor to determine and diagnose your thyroid disease. And now let's keep the TSH as well as our something we want to predict. So when we read through all these things, we find out actually there are some of the things we really don't want, right? For instance, the patient ID, it means nothing, and we do not need this column when we are trying to predict a model. So we can ask the code interpreter to drop this column and predict based on other values. And as you can see, for this one, the prompt is really, really simple. Let me start this prompt first. So for this one, this is my first version of the model prompt try. It's really simple. I just want to say, I want to see what can the code interpreter do with these simple prompts. Well, it turns out actually they know how to how to do some prediction and what is the procedures of the prediction. As you can see, it will decompose this task for you. It will first drop the column and split the data side, and it will handle the missing values. And please pay attention, here is what is different with the Copilot. So the code interpreter know more and was well-trained, well-trained than the Copilot. It know how to handle these missing values, and also it will help you to pre-process the data. And we can, let's see what is it doing right here. So right here it looks it have already finished to split the data, and it is trying to use this sklearn to train the model and predict. Well, again, we have met some errors, and please relax. So you will met this error code a lot of times when you play with the code interpreter, because as I said, code interpreter is not as smart as human. And just as us, even professional those programmer or the researcher, they will also make errors in the codes, as well as the code interpreter. They learn from us, right? So it will make errors, but then it will tell you what happened in this error, and then it will to find out some of the possible solutions. So here, it has finished the whole procedure, and it gave us it used mean squared error. It is another metrics to evaluate a model performance in the prediction. And for here, we can see it tells us it used the mean square error to evaluate, and it chose a random forest regressor model to test to predict to generate this model, and the MSE is approximately 189.62, and I guarantee you this is not a good result. However, it do generate us a model and have clearly show us a procedure to do all these things. So for the next one, we can do some further, further stuff. We can use, our intelligence to tell us some of the things we want to specify. So here I give a guess. So based on my experience, well, I guess it's a quick fun fact is that me myself is a thyroid chronic disease patient. So I do know about all these metrics. So I just randomly pick up some of the key metrics from the from all those columns. These metrics I include age, sex, thyroid surgery, T3, TT4, T4U, FTI, and TBG. These are also the atoms will appear on our blood test every time. So here I will ask the code interpreter to create a more specified model for us. And ideally, this one will perform better than the first model. And let's see how the code interpreter will perform.
And just to comment on the previous mistake that the code interpreter did, actually it's not a mistake, it's just a random, when you randomize the data into the test and training set, sometimes there are imbalances in the two sets. And the one-hot encoder in the training set actually doesn't incorporate the categories that exist in the test set, resulting in the failure of the program. In this case, you do want to check when you do the coding and you see the error term, you want to dig into the fundamental cause of the error and try to make your own judgment regarding which way to go. Usually the machine tries the simpler way, but simpler way may not be the best way. In this approach, I would argue against using option 2, which actually combine the train and test set together and figure out all the categories before the splitting. So in this case, you can use all the data in both the test and train set. You can definitely ask the code interpreter to do that. So don't be easily satisfied by the default answer provided by the code interpreter.
Thank you so much, Professor. Oh, and I have just noticed I have exceeded the time limit. I will try to finish as quick as possible. So for this one, I have think about ask the GPT, the code interpreter, to generate me use five different methods and find out the most accurate one. But I give up since I guess it will run a lot of time, and also there is a memory limit in code interpreter. Well, I'm not sure what is the exact number, but you will meet the memory limit if you run too many things. So, but it's always great way to give a try and try each method individually. And for here we have saw the MSE is larger even than the previous one. Well, this is something different with my own try. I guess it's the different based on the model and the the method it choose. But it is always good to try different model and try play with those metrics in the data site. And the next part of the research is after we find out some of the significant findings, we want to visualize these things. So however, I'm not really familiar with this research and all the stuff. So I think it's good to ask. So what is some possible visualizations of this model, and ask the GPT, this code interpreter, and it tell me you could try to block plots, the scatter plot, the feature importance, and correlation heat map. So I said, you just do all of that for me, please. Since you are just machines, so just do that for me. Well, here I will only show for two findings I think is really interesting from the previous result I run. First, I asked the code interpreter to show me some feature importance based on this model, and it revealed that the FTI is one of the most important feature in this model. And in the real life and in our scientifically speaking, FTI is the metrics directly directly related with the TSH value, because FTI means those free thyroid those index, those things, and it is something that when your FTI go up and your TSH will go down, that is the way that how now the doctor try to control patients' thyroid disease. And the correlation heat map also review this result for us. As we can see, the FTI is a negative correlated with the TSH. So we can just explore and play through all this data and try to find some new findings through all these visualizations. And definitely you can also play much more with visualizations. And as we saw in the previous slides, there are much more possible visualizations for the code interpreter can do. And just I think a gold sum is that anything, most of the things you can do in the Python, you can finish in Python, you can do it with code interpreter. So I also think it's good to give a try for why not we try some neural networks. I have just learned it in the previous semester. Unfortunately, it told me, I apologize for that, but I'm not be able to do it. Let me just make this larger. Probably it's better to solve. So as we can see, I'm not sure. Do you look this familiar? But actually, it is this is the format or the how the TensorFlow create a neural network. So TensorFlow is also a the deep learning library in Python, and it can help you to quickly create some neural networks for your information. And here it is create or follow the patterns of TensorFlow to create a the neural network. However, you can see it does not import the TensorFlow right here. So there is no way for it to run it. And what is more, it told us that it does not have the TensorFlow or Keras in its environment. So this I want to put this here and share with you is that code interpreter is not, it cannot do everything for you. It still have limitations. So some of the libraries is not included in the, in this environment. So you have to be careful about this stuff, and just to make sure you want to what library to use and what probably the most appropriate one to use in your prompts. So just like Professor and I have talked, we can use code interpreter as an assistant or tutor, but they are not someone could do every work, everything for you. You still need to learn, and really you really need to get the textbook and learn those fundamental knowledge before you play with the code interpreter.
Yeah, I also want to add that I think the main reason why TensorFlow is not imported, is not used, is because it's too GPU hungry. So it consumes a lot of GPU computation power. I guess by the same token, the other versions, other platforms for deep learning are also not imported with the purpose of not overusing the system and make it broke. So can't use a TensorFlow, probably can't use PyTorch or JAX as well, but you can try. So the mainly I think the scikit-learn is an exception because scikit-learn exclusively uses CPU instead of GPU. So computation-wise is a lot less expensive than TensorFlow and other deep learning frameworks.
Thank you so much. I definitely agree. If they open, this GPU features, they will go broken rapidly because of that. But a quick message for all of our mates. The Kaggle do provide free Tesla P100, if I remember correctly, as a resources for you to use. So if you go Kaggle, you can run your the machine learning script on that, but it do have a limitation of 30 hours limitation per week, per week, I think per week for you, but that is a good free GPU resources if you need. Well, we have saw all of these informations and we have played the Copilot and we have played the GPT-4, and I guess now is a good time to think about the differences between Copilot and GPT-4. Well, I'll just go as simple as possible. So based on my observation and my understand, so Copilot is more like a low-code platform or more like a low-code site of assistant. Well, the GPT-4 code interpreter is actually a no-code assistant. And if you have noticed, we have tapped nothing about code in the GPT when we play with the code interpreter. However, if we want to really write a function that working appropriately, we need to write some code and we need to know how to write a code in that. But for the code interpreter, we need know nothing about it. We can directly play and run some code on it. And what is more about the Copilot, it is focused and trained to be used in programming. So it is trained for coding, but the code interpreter, it is trained for everything. And here are some examples I used the code interpreter to create and show you. Remember, we have talked you can upload lots of files, including image, audio, and also the video onto it. And here I asked the GPT to create a GIF picture based on this this picture for me. So it will have some special effects, and it do. Here is the result. And in the next one, I asked the GPT, can you create me a MP4 video based on this GIF and a MP3 music I find on internet, and also it create one for me. Let me show you really quick. All right.
We can't hear the music.
I'm sorry. Let me share the music again. Let's see. Can you hear it now? That's it. You can. I saw some of our mates have asked if we can upload multiple files into onto this channel. Yes, you can upload multiple pictures, photos, and it can help you to create a short video based on your requirements with the with the music. And more important, it will automatically compose and compress these things together into the file format you want, either MP4 or MOV or AVI. These forms, these formats, as you required. So all of these are, are it can act as the way you want. So this is something besides academic research. If you, in daily life, you just want to make a video, you can ask Code Interpreter do that for you, and you don't need to know how to create it. You just ask Code Interpreter to do that. So remember, I have generate a music and play you a music generated by the Code Interpreter. You can also do that. And here is the prompt I used to ask the interpreter to generate me the music. However, I have to mention the music is really simple, and as you can see, it's not really like the music we heard, but well, it's a start, and I guess as the GPT-4 and the Code Interpreter evolve, it will eventually have the ability to create more vivid and more colorful music for us. And that is also created by the Code Interpreter. So, how can Code Interpreter help us? Well, we have talked about all these basic tasks, this audio processing, image, video processing, data analytics, even machine learning, or it is the personal tutor for us. But it can also do many more. So it can do programming. It can generate, help you to manage your API, generate some API for you to work with your program or applications. It can do product testing for you, as we saw. We can simply write some code in the offline in our laptop and upload those code to the Code Interpreter and ask the Code Interpreter to test the code and find out any bug or to see if the code is robust. And it can also help us generate some markdown file or interactive programming tutorial in the Jupyter Notebook. Actually, I have tried to generate a quick Python tutorial, interactive tutorial, and download it. And it looks not really smart, but it do provide me a lot of example and a good structure. So, what I want to share as the last is GPT-4 can do a lot of things. What it can do is based on your imagination and your knowledge. What you want it to do is what it can do. So remember, GPT-4, the Code Interpreter, is based on the Python. So Python is really powerful. And you can imagine a lot of things and you want it to do, or you just give a try. Whatever you come into your mind, it's always worth to give a try and see the Code Interpreter, its capacity and ability. And at last, I want to share the Steve Jobs words with you. So stay hungry, stay foolish, always be keen to try these new technologies and the new world. Thank you. Here are the references.
Thank you so much, Peiqi. This is fantastic. I have to say, really blows me away and hopefully blows everyone away. I can see that you spend a lot of time digging into those challenging tasks and experiment a lot with both the Copilot and the Code Interpreter. I didn't ask actually for you to experiment with Copilot at all, but you did that anyway. And then you also talk a lot about the functions and try out Analyst yourself using. Can you hear me?
Oh, you have blurred out a little bit, but
oh, okay, yeah, my internet connection is not very stable.
Yeah, good night.
So yeah, I just want to say that your presentation is very clear, very practical, and touches many different aspects and functionalities about code interpreter. So I personally learned a lot. Although, well, we are 20 minutes above the time, but hopefully everyone get a lot of food for thoughts. So that's a wonderful learning experience. And for 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, we are going to meet again. And I have a topic already, but then someone either take the initiative or I will ask some of you to learn about the so-called lambda index, the llama index. So the llama index just give you a very brief overview. So I know that I actually missed Shambhavi's presentation about PyCon, right? And PyCon is directly related to how we can expand the capacity of large language models, because we can provide additional data to the language model. And llama index take another step forward regarding how we can provide different types of data and interact using large language models. We could use language model as a tool to analyze whatever type of data we provide with almost no limitation to either the types of data nor the volume of data. And they can use multiple types of data simultaneously. So I do see that has a lot of applications. The llama index is still at the infant stage, but I foresee it's going to go viral very quickly. So if any of you are interested in presenting the llama index in 2 weeks, I appreciate your efforts. But otherwise, I will ask someone. So if you want to volunteer, just shoot me an email in 1 or 2 days. So I know that you are moving forward. Otherwise, I'll ask someone to prepare for it. And thank you, Peiqi, for all your wonderful work and really fantastic efforts in presenting this informative code interpreter presentation. And later on, if you could share your files, presentation, and other miscellaneous data set, that would be much appreciated.
Thank you so much for everyone attending, and I feel sorry for delaying for so much time, but it turns out this topic is even more exciting and interesting than we thought. So thank you again for the time, and thank you so much for Professor and Yuyi's help through the the preparation. It really helped me a lot, and I guess that's all. And I'm gonna try to upload this file to my website, and also I will provide the the archive of the file to Yuyi and the professor just for the distribution.
Thank you so much, Peiqi. And thank you everyone for attending this session. We will see all